Welcome to the show. I'm your host, RGM, and you are vibing with RGM Collective. And sometimes when we are vibing, we have to think about what's going on the world around us. And I'm going to be honest with you before I get started. Shout out to those who are here. Shout out to the moderators who are also our ushers. We'll usher you out if you need to be. We'll help you find a seat. Before we get started, this we have to talk about fair use, copyright disclaimer. All right, let that scroll a little bit. We also have to talk about disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this channel are those of the host and his guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities that they represent. All right, what else do I need? We do need to talk about be respectful. Please be respectful. And then last but not least, this is a whining and crying warning. For some people, telling the truth and telling your truth may sound like whining and crying. And if that is you, make sure that you know the exits. There's an exit to the left. There's an exit to the right. There's an exit up top for the tall people. And there's a little bitty tiny exit right there by the door. It looks like a doggy door, but it's just built for you to, to kick rocks if you need to. But other than that, today's show is going to be a show of information, education, and solidarity with our queer, with our gender nonconforming, and with our trans siblings. I'm telling you honestly, well, first of all, I'm having deja vu of my days doing shows like this as one of the few voices who was this kind of stuff, talking about this kind of stuff. And I was doing it, I would say 2005 to 2008. I had a talk show. It was a gospel talk show. It was geared toward providing information regarding HIV and AIDS in the Black community. And one of the things I realized, if we were not going to talk about religious based homophobia, we are not really getting to the bottom of this issue. So I made sure that we would talk about issues like transphobia and homophobia, and you can tell how it went. But now we are at a different time, but it almost seems like those voices, that education is needed. To be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of news. I try not to watch the news. I try not to get caught up in the just rabbit holes of looking at one headline to the next, clicking and clicking. The next thing you know, you're just like, damn, this world is effed up. But this world is effed up. But besides being effed up, there is plenty of hope, and there is plenty of voices to be heard. There's plenty of justice to be served, and there's plenty of advocacy. It is not over. No matter how many executive orders that Trump signs, it is not done. It is not a done deal. And no matter what people tell you, God did not make a mistake when God made our transgender siblings, our non gender non-conforming siblings. God made no mistake. And even though man is trying to pour hell on, or and trying to send hell and make life on earth a living hell for many of our transgender loved ones, there's plenty of work for us to do. This time in history is going to go down as just blunder of misfortunes and mistakes made, and harm against many of us. And it also will go down as this summer is going to go down as one in history of fighting back. So what am I talking about today? Before we get into the talk about tracking the anti-trans bills and how 1% of the population, transgender people make up 1% of the population in America. And yet there are about 662 bills on tap that are anti-trans bills. Did you hear me? Transgender people make up 1% of the population, but they are under attack. Someone said it felt like the world is against them. And like many of us, we feel as, okay, I need to say something. I need to do something. What can I do? What can I say? I have a platform. I have a voice. We all have voices. Shout out to Anti-Afro. So before we start looking at, we're just going to keep this simple. We're gonna go to the tracker, and we're going to look at the different legislation on tap, because the battle is on the state level. So I'm going to be transparent and show you my state, and the anti-trans bills are that are that are there. Some have passed, some have not, and we're going to dive into it. Yeah, 662 bills. Yeah, we're going to look at that. 662 bills. We're going to look at, and it is a great resource. It is actually here. Let me go ahead and put that link in the chat for you to look at for yourself. It is called translegislation.com. And you can see Yeah, Missouri. It's a and I know of trans people who are leaving Missouri. So we're going to look at that. That this is real, and it is about erasure. So before we get started, I wanna go to the story. And if you're looking at this video, there's a picture, a thumbnail, and that thumbnail is a picture of Amber Minor. Amber Minor. And if you want to know what all of this means, the the anti-trans bills that they try to make it seem like it's protecting other people. They try to make it seem like it's protecting America and it's putting the best interest of everyone and it's about legislation, but what it really is, it's about the attack on other human beings. Mhm. And it goes into the already hostile atmosphere that we have and systems that we have that are stacked against many of us. And imagine being a person of color who also happens to be a transgender person. So that is the story behind the thumbnail. And Amber Minor was a beautiful soul. I never met Amber Minor. I've heard a lot about Amber Minor because let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, this is the story of Amber Minor. When we start thinking about the trans legislation, when we start thinking about transgender people, when we start uh, listening to how or thinking about how transgender people are viewed, and some of the I've heard terms like transformer and he, she, and all this other bullshit and names used against people. And you realize that there is a person behind these attacks. There's a person that was loved, that had people who loved them and they loved also. So Amber Minor, so this was written January 17th, 2024. Amber Minor, black transgender woman, tragically killed near Kansas City on Christmas Eve. Amber Minor, a 40-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Raytown, Missouri, a suburb of Kansas City, early on December 24th, 2023. Amber's death is at least the 32nd violent killing of a transgender or gender nonconforming person in 2023. We say at least because too often these deaths go unreported or misreported. The Human Rights Campaign is deeply saddened to report on Amber's death. In an interview with the Kansas City Star on Sunday, January 6th, Amber was described by those close to her as a warrior with a strong will and spirit, noting that her personality could shed light on otherwise dark situations. Amber was also a previous survivor of violence, recovering from gunshot wounds and having been hit by a car. Okay. It is clear from all we know that Amber left a positive mark on the lives of the people she knew and held dear. Each time a member of our community is taken from us, it leaves a mark that never really heals. Our hearts go out to Amber's friends and family as we mark another tragic milestone. And this is from Tori Cooper, Director of Community Engagement in HRC's Transgender Justice Initiative. Okay. Um, Amber is at least the 25th transgender nonconforming person killed with a gun in 2023, with firearms involved in over three-quarters of incidents of fatal violence in that year. More than 25,000 hate crimes in the U.S. involve firearms. So this is talking about firearms. Now, here's the total. here's the other injustice. Many of our trans siblings and loved ones face injustice living, and those who lose their lives face injustice deceased because they're misgendered. In an injustice compounding this tragedy, Amber was misgendered in some media and police reports. And Amber is unfortunately not alone. Since HRC began tracking fatal violence against the trans community in 2013, two-thirds of all known victims were misgendered by the media and or by law enforcement, including half of all victims identified in 2023. So what are we saying? Let's go right here. We must demand better from our elected officials and reject harmful anti-transgender legislation at the local, state, and federal levels, while also considering every possible way to make ending this violence a reality. It is clear that fatal violence disproportionately affects transgender women of color, especially Black transgender women. The intersection of racism, transphobia, sexism, biphobia, and homophobia conspire to deprive them of necessities to live and thrive. So we must all work together to cultivate acceptance, reject hate, and end stigma for everyone in the trans and gender non-conforming community. So again, the thumbnail is the thumbnail of Amber Minor, who was killed here in Kansas City, January the 17th. She was killed December 24th, a day before Christmas, 2023. And it's not. You would think that it's done. Shout out to Liz Martin. KRP says, judge a society by how it treats its prisoners. I think the same applies to trans people, especially those of color. They're a vulnerable population that society is treating like shit. Yeah. And we, um, same thing happened to our people. Well, I don't know if you saw that Amber is one of our people. Amber is one of our people, but and collect. So Amber is one of our people. The attacks against her were based on sexualized discrimination, gender plus race. Yet, not for people will see these similarities. But here's the thing, though. Amber was Black, and this what we're talking about today, and you will see this in a minute, is how many Black trans people are murdered. And we're going to look at that, and then we're going to look at the bills. So it's not a us versus them mentality. When one of us is hurting, we all hurt. When one human is hurting, all humans hurt. That's just the way that I wanna look at it and see it. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. All right. So let's go to Human Rights Campaign, and let's look at this. So this is the epidemic of violence against transgender and gender expansive community in the U.S. This was based in 2024. So this is from the Human Rights Campaign. And shout out to Lady Dimples. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry. Yeah, I probably did miss your point. You have to work with me. I'm you know how I get when I'm fired up. Shout out to Lady Dimples. Thank you for being here. So let's go to the epidemic violence against the transgender and gender expansive community. Oh, okay. I get your point now. I am so sorry. You have to work with me because sometimes I miss points. All right, let's look at this. And then, so we're going to look at this. We're going to look at how policy relates to this. And then we're going to talk about what we can do. All right. Because that's what I believe. I believe that we have so much work and things that we can do. All right. So if you don't know, I am RGM, also known as Rev G. Gerald Palmer, and this is our RGM Collective. Welcome. All right. So each year they do a report talking about the crimes against transgender community, and let me put this in the let me put this in the chat, and you can go here as well um, to get the information. Okay. So you can look and talk about, so definitely there is a content warning. This report discusses the homicides and violent deaths of transgender and gender expansive people. In addition to discussing other potentially sensitive topics such as bullying, gun violence, family rejection, sexual violence, misgendering and dead naming, transphobia, and intimate partner violence. Now, one thing I want you to know about the policies that we were going to see, it is making it very hard for a person uh, to change their name, to change their ID, and we're going to see some of the laws that are against it. All right, let me go back to um, where we at. Okay, okay. I'll drop the link. I'm not going to drop the link just yet. I'm gonna go through my monologue, and then I will drop the link when we have altar call. But let me go ahead and finish. I still got a little more to go. Okay, so since the day after last Transgender Day of Remembrance on November 20th, 2023, at least 36 transgender and gender expressive people have been killed in the US. All right, so let's scroll down. This is the actual report. Um, this goes into the data collection, it goes to hate crimes versus anti trans hate. And so this is in memoriam. All right. So these are the deaths that occurred in 2023. Okay. Amari Reed, Kawan Richardson, Jean Bouchard, Savannah Ryan Williams, Megan Riley Lewis, Amber Minor. These are the deaths that occurred in 2024. Kitty Monroe, Righteous TK Chevy Hill, Diamond Bergman, Alex Franco, Morexis Medina, Africa Perella Garcia, T. Legend Billings Arnold, River Nevea Goddard, Andrea Doria Dos Passos, Sasha Williams, Star Brown, Keita B., Rihanna Hernandez, Brandon Theodore Thomas, Michelle Henry, Yella Robert Clark Jr., Jaslyn Johnson, Liara Tsai, Polly Likens, and if I'm getting their names wrong, I'm truly sorry. Shannon Boswell, Kenji Spurgeon, Monique Brooks, Dylan Gurley, Tavon Latham, Vanity Williams, Red Barbie, Kasim Omar, Honey Daniels, Santonio San Coleman, and Quanisha Chantel Coco. Okay. All right. So let's keep on going down. Mary Reed, according to friends and family, 21-year-old Mary Reed, a black trans woman, was the life of the party. She had an infectious sense of humor. Amari was fatally shot on November 14th, 2023 in Toledo, Ohio, while driving around her hometown with her friend Kawan Richardson, a gender expansive gay black man. Kajan Richardson, a 21-year-old gender expansive black man, loved to sing and is remembered for their deep love of music by friends and family. On November 14th, 2023, Kawan was shot and killed in Toledo, Ohio, while driving around their hometown with their friend Mary Reed, a black transgender black woman. Jean Bouchard. Jean Bouchard was a 26-year-old white transgender man, loved camping foraging, gardening, and mushroom hunting, according to his obituary, which earned him the nickname Nature Boy. He was the youngest of three siblings, having earned himself a bachelor's of science degree. He was working toward becoming a teacher, um, hoping to teach middle and high schoolers about the environment. Gene was fatally shot in Belleville, Michigan, in a mobile home park during a series of violent incidents on August the 4th, 2023. Savannah Ryan Williams. Savannah Ryan was 38-year-old Cuban and native transgender woman, was described by her partner as a loving, caring person. Amber Moon was with the Aliveness Project, described Savannah as fierce, full of life. She had a big personality and even bigger heart. During an interview with the Minneapolis Public Radio, Savannah was violently killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota on November 29th. On December 7th, 2023, the Minnesota State Capitol echoed in remembrance as Savannah's partner, friends, children, family, even legislators and public officials gathered for a vigil in her honor. So you can go to the site. You can read about all these beautiful people whose lives were taken short. And then I'm going to relate it to how policy and legislation, it it attempts to erase some of us. So let me go to your comments. I got you. So make sure you check out you go to the link for HRC. And this is why policy and advocacy is so important, because there is a culture of anti-trans uh, everything going around us. And if we have a voice, I believe that we should raise our voices. It is also my belief that the way that our society, the way that our country, the way that many of us are treating uh, our trans siblings, our trans loved ones, trans folks around us, I believe that God is truly not happy with us. and that's my belief. So let's go ahead and start sharing um, the screen. All right. So this is the 2025 anti-trans bills tracker. And one of the things that we must realize is that many of our elected officials, many of those, they use politics just like some of us use religion as a way to mask our hate. Some people use religion and use policy to also mask how they truly feel about themselves. There's shout out to KRP. The life expectancy of Black trans women in the United States is uh, shit, which is less than half that of Black women overall. Yeah, and I definitely I can't speak for Black trans women. All I can speak for is Gerald, who has friends and loved ones who are part of the trans community, who are part of the gender nonconforming community, who also happen to be Black. So if you're looking right now, you see that in 2025 that there are 662 bills in 49 states, and we're not even talking about the national things that are signed into law. Like right now, the banning of transgender troops, transgender servicemen, service women, service people. I'm not even talking about that. So right now, 16 have passed. There's 619 that are active, and there's 27 failed. So let's go ahead and go into my state, Missouri. So if we look at Missouri, there are 62 anti-trans bills in Missouri. That is the most compared to Texas. Uh, let's go back. Texas has Texas has 85. There are 85 trans bills, anti-trans bills in Texas, and then there's 62. All right. So they're in healthcare, education, sports, bathroom, civil rights, marriage, performance, birth certificates, child abuse. Let's go to child abuse. I want to see what that is. Bathroom. I'm trying to see where's child abuse. I'm a fast scroller. If there's a particular one you want me to look at, just let me know. This is interactive. If there's a particular bill that you want me to look at, let me know because this also breaks down by I think it breaks down by different yeah. If there's a particular bill you want me to look at, if there's a particular, for instance, if we go to the rise, look at the rise of anti-trans bills in the US. You remember the big stink about it was about bathroom. Now you're seeing trans bills also tied in with with anti DEI bills as well. You're seeing that as well. That's why it is so important, man. It is so important to know what's happening around us, especially on the state level. Now we're seeing at first it was bathroom and then it was other. Now you're seeing growing in education, you're seeing healthcare, sports, bathroom, sports, healthcare, education, and then other. So 199 bills in education. 187 bills in healthcare. The issue blowing up now, but the seeds of deception started before the current administration. Yeah, I definitely disagree with that. I definitely disagree with that. It should be blowing up now, but the no, the um I def I disagree. I disagree with that. The issue started the ish this this been going on since the 70s. Even before then, this been going on since the late 60s, early 70s. What if you notice, let's go back. What happened before 2015? What happened before 2015? Think about what happened in 2015. Why 2015? What happened in 2015? What happened in you said it happened before the current yeah, it did happen before the current administration. Right. I'm not trying to blame, I'm not putting it all on Trump, although his executive orders are attacking trans people. I mean, he's uh, yeah. But you're right. But who? Why 2015? And who is spearheading most of these legislation? Who's pushing this legislation? You always got to look at who's pushing the legislation, who's funding it, who's behind it. Why 2015? 2015, if we remember, let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you. 2015 was the legal recognition of same-sex marriage. On June 26, 2015, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled in a 5-4 decision that the 14th Amendment requires states to license same-sex marriage and recognize marriage performed in other jurisdictions. Same-sex marriage. And what party, what mindset, who is behind a lot of these anti-trans, the anti-trans, it's trans people are not the original targets. The original targets are those in the lesbian, gay, in the gay movement. You said law passed for former amendment only appeared to support. However, there was deception designed only to curry favor with the population. But here's the thing, though. Why would it be curry favor of the LGBTQ population when their population is, especially trans people, only 1% of the population? I mean, this same argument was made when the civil rights legislation was passed by LBJ. The same arguments were made. It was seen as a as favoring the black vote. And here's the thing, though, man. It doesn't matter who it is, but when there's an oppressed group, and when there's an oppressed group, and they start getting recognized, and equity starts to come their way, equality, equity, and all of that, that's when the attacks start happening. Look closely. And you can do the same too for the black vote. You can look at how many anti-black legislation came after Obama was nominated. Again, everything has a rhyme and a reason. Every action, there is a reaction. And now you're seeing bam, 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 and here we are. And you're going to see more and more coming our way. And they're targeting gender affirming healthcare. You realize how important gender affirming healthcare is to anyone, right? You realize that as a male, if you get like treatments for, testosterone or ED or anything like that, that's gender affirming healthcare. If you are getting, let's say you're a male and you're getting treatment for male baldness, that's gender affirming healthcare. If you're a woman and you want a breast reduction, that's gender affirming healthcare. So these are attacks on gender affirming healthcare does not make any sense. And now, if we look at this right here, right, that this is looking at and you notice in 2015, the big push was, okay, so now that they got marriage, let's attack, you know, let's let's attack the gender. I watch a lot of trans-based channels and adjunct. A lot of these folks are MAGA affirmative. Okay, well, that's a problem. Okay, excuse me. Now look at this. And now, the 2019 to 2022, we stopped talking about bathroom. But if you notice, sports, 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 sports. But the big thing now is education. And like I told you before, they are linking diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI into these policies. Into these policies. Right. All right. So let's look at the state level. Let's look at the state level. And one of the most beautiful things about having this topic is I don't have to worry about people, coming in with the F stuff because uh, we're talking realness here. We're talking real life. We're talking a topic that people, that we need to talk about. And I'm gonna go ahead and in just 1 second, I'm gonna open up because I'm gonna is there a certain top a certain let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Okay. All right, so let's look at Missouri. Let's look at birth certificate. No, let me see. Right here. Modifies provision relating to biological definition of male and female. Um, uh, enacts provision governing the social transition of children to schools. No public school staff member shall engage in the following. Okay, so you can't cover the topics of sexual orientation or gender identity in any classroom discussion or institution in a manner that deviates from state content standards or curricula developed or approved by the public school governing authority. Now, if this in education, if they're saying that there's only two genders and you don't talk about sexual orientation, then what happens to those students who are gender non-conforming? What happens to trans youth? What happens to youth who feel like you know, they are anything but straight? That's erasure. Sadly, trans people are misused by politicians to steal the general public's attention away from issues of class, income inequality, and wealth, the third rails of politics. Right. Please address the military issue. Do you see any reason why trans folks will not be service appropriate? Now, here's the thing. I do not see that. I don't. There's no reason why. But think about this. How long did it take? How long did it take for uh, people who were gay or lesbian to be seen as service appropriate? Because for a long time, if you were seen as gay or lesbian, you were kicked out. And then there's also a thought that if a person is trans, then they're not suitable for they're not suitable for the military. And that's one of the arguments that Trump has made in his executive order. Yes, we're witnessing lawfare against trans people nationwide. It's happening all over the country. Right. But when the Supreme Court made marriage equality, that put a target on trans folks, put a target on lesbian, gays, and bisexual folks as well. And a lot of these arguments center around religiosity. A lot of these arguments center around religiosity. I mean, bathroom laws, education. This is the okay. So I'm done looking at Missouri. Let's go to other states. And our neighbor Kansas has five. Yeah, our neighbor Kansas has five. I'm on the medical side of mental health and currently how I'm working with people transition. There are for sure that will pose significant barriers. Oh, nah, man, that's a huge debate and one that I'm at this time I'm not equipped. I'm not equipped to give me some time to get the resources, and then I'll be equipped to look at this issue. And I think that's for anyone though. I mean, there's some medical medication issues for I think for anyone, but not I don't think all not all trans people are made like medical transition. Okay. I would love to get a trans military person, a former trans military person to talk about it. That's a good angle. I mean, that'd be a good discussion to have. Um, but but it seems like trans youth are definitely the target. Okay, so nationally, these are passed. These are bills that have been passed. Um, Alabama, sex-based terms define vital statistics report sex as male or female at birth required. Okay, so the following words, whenever they appear in this code, have the following meanings unless otherwise. Boy, a human male who has not yet reached adulthood. Father, Jesus. In Iowa, a bill for an act relating to sex, including those related terms for purposes, statutory construction indicates the person's sex or certain vital records. So basically, oh gosh, Boise State, the Help Not Harmed Act, restricted use of state funds to promote gender transitioning. Who prohibited healthcare providers from providing gender transition care to children whose gender. So this is attacking gender care for youth? Uh, really? Okay. Yeah, like I said, I would definitely, yeah, I would definitely, again, I I would really want someone who is well versed in this topic. I mean, I could talk for days about policy and legislation and how these policies and how this current, as what did KRP say? This right here is where we're at. Hold on for a second. I need to check something. Sorry. Oh, sorry, guys. Hold on one second. This is a really heavy topic. All right. Sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up to anyone to hit the link. Those were those with severe allergy, need scheduled meds, can't serve in the front line. Trans folks take hormone and wouldn't have access to their meds either. But for some who are not, I don't know. I mean, are all taking hormones? I don't think all. Ah, again, this is a. You know what? I'm going to I'm going to look more into this issue. But that's not the argument that that's not the argument that Trump is making, though. I mean, right? But I don't. But the front. But that's but that's in combat, though, right? That's combat. Okay, let's table and I think I did bring it up, but let's table that conversation. I do want to get in more on these other policies here. All right, bathroom, incarceration, education, be resolved by the State House of Command, the Family Foundation for 40 years of strengthening the Virginia families. It, I just, yeah, what the world? Okay. What is a woman act? That was passed. This is in Wyoming. I think this is Wyoming. Yeah, this is Wyoming. An act relating to common law, statutes, and rules of construction specific to biological sexes in law, rules or regulations providing the law distinction between combination from males and females. Oh my gosh. And so again, 1% of the population and uh all of these, man. Hmm. Wow. Now, this shit right here, I just lost my mind. Sorry. Gosh. Read this one. My brain just froze. I can't read this. This is Wyoming. Prohibitation, prohibit, institutional discrimination. Oh God. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. I it's, I can't. I'm speechless. I haven't seen this one. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it for myself. Oh gosh. An act relating to the administration of government prohibiting governmental entities from engaging in any diversity, equity, inclusion program, activity, or policy prohibiting governmental entities engaging in institutional discrimination, prohibiting requirements of certain programs. So they are saying that diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are institutional discrimination. See, I'm telling you, this time in history, we are witnessing a time in history unseen. This is what politicians pass as law rather than passing laws to strengthen the U.S. Right? These because it's so easy. I'm telling you, this is an attack on and they're this is an attack on trans folks. This is also an attack on black folks. You said they're not booting all trans folks. I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm gonna have to look in that. Well, I'm gonna have to do, but let's table that. Let's table that because I don't want to get into that right now. Not the military piece. Let me see something real quick. What? Uh-uh. I'm reading the order right now. Hold on. Let me read the actual order because it's saying that it's saying all trans people. I need to read the actual order. I have to see what I like to do is I like to look at things for myself, but from what I'm seeing, it's yeah. The U.S. Army will no longer allow transgender people to enlist and will stop providing gender affirming care for service members. Yeah, this is all. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you know, let's go ahead and look. Oh, if I start talking about body parts, yeah. If I start talking about, yeah, yeah. All right, let me go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm gonna share. I'm gonna share the memo uh, under the Secretary of Defense, and let's see. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a pro at this. I'm a pro at this. All right, so this is the memo, February 26th, the 13 pages. Memorandum for Senior Pentagon Leadership, Commander of the Combatant Command's Defense Agency and DoD Field Activity Directors, as directed by the Secretary of Defense in his February 7, 2025 memorandum, prioritizing military excellence and readiness, the medical, surgical. Here, let me just do this. No, All right. Effectively, the following issuance policy memorandums are canceled. So, in service transition for transgender service members, um, so this is saying that they're not accepting any more transgender people. Defense Health Agency procedural instruction, guidance for gender affirming. So no more gender affirming care. Um, Now, as far as booting them out, I don't know that. Let's look. So we do know that there will not be no. Well, it's it's not. It's no man. Hold on. Let me go to it. All right. Is the part imposed the medical, surgical, and mental health constraints on individuals who have a current diagnosis or history of or exhibit. Okay. Okay. So this is so. Okay. Great point. So are they saying transgender gender dysphoria? So not all people who are transgender have gender dysphoria. So what is so how but it's being reported. Oh my gosh. When he talks about transgender folks, but what we're talking what it's saying here is gender dysphoria and mental okay. But that doesn't make any sense though. You can still couldn't you still be active? There are people who are active with mental illness. Don't be telling me what to do. Do not be telling me what to do. I don't know. I don't know. I would. Uh, uh, but wait though. Following please be up today for kindness. Wh- But see, but this it says gender dysphoria here, but right here. Okay, what is okay? So what I do is I want to find out what this is about. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to do a search about. Okay, so no, 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 no. Because you're jumping on those trash art. No, I was not. I'm not jumping on any trash ass articles. I was not. I'm going. I'm telling you. I could show you what I'm going by. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you look at so this is my question. Hold on. Let me share it. Yeah, I don't jump on trash ass articles. No, man, I don't do that. I tell you what I was doing, and the way that even the way that Trump is saying, um, I already gave my official statement. It's misleading because here's the thing. It's for one, here's the thing. Let me share again. Here's the thing where it's misleading. Right here, it says prioritizing military excellence, the medical, surgical, and mental health constraints on individuals who have a current diagnosis or history of or exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria or incompatible. So this is who have a current diagnosis or history of um yeah, physical. Okay. So but you go down here though, and it's saying the following DOD issuances have been canceled, right? Right? It's saying as of effective immediately, the following policies are canceled. And l- let's go to this one. See, I mean, it's not saying it doesn't say people with dysphoria. This one does. This one does, but this one doesn't. But here's the thing though, where's the research? Where's the research that is saying that people who are living with dysphoria or the history of it are not fit for service? Where's the research behind it? Where where's the proof? Where's the research? I don't but hold on. I'm going to find hold on. Wait a second though. Cuz something is not adding up. Here let's look at it. Okay. All right. Policy. It is DOD policy that okay, service members are applicants for military service who have a current diagnosis or history of or exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria. What's symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria? Now, oh man, what do they mean by symptoms? See, here's the thing though. But see, here's the thing. Here's if someone has already transitioned, that's a whole different story. Is it? Is it though? Is it? I don't know. Is that true? Because what I'm seeing here, again, I am not a lawyer, but they're saying symptoms. Here, let me share. Because, symptoms of gender dysphoria. Okay. All right. Feeling a strong sense of distress or discomfort with one's assigned gender, a notable difference between the gender they identify with and their physical sex, a strong desire to live within another gender, a strong desire. It's okay. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Yeah, I am not. Mm-mm, mm-mm. I'm not buying that. To me, it looks like they're trying to. Uh-uh. Here, let me stop sharing. See, I didn't want to go down that track, but you saying I'm looking at junk articles, and I was not. I don't play that. Here, let me keep looking at this. And here, let me go ahead and open the link real quick. We're gonna have to do a pause. But what I want to, yeah, let's do a pause on this because I'm really finding some things. But I want to do a pause on that, and I want to go back to. I want to, yeah. So let's pause on the military talk, but I do want to continue here. Let me go ahead and continue to look at some of the. I think the one I really want to look at is this one here. This one here. This is so words like reverse racism. So what they're saying is that again, it's DEI trainings are institution discrimination. And look, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And again, all of this happened because of the same-sex marriage, pronouns. Oh my gosh. So now, so if somebody has an employee, so if an employee, a federal employee, wants you to call them by a preferred pronoun, you don't have to in Wyoming. Terminating and defunding diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm telling you, this is real, man. This stuff is real. Yeah, but see, no, no. I mean, again, I'm not saying you're doing this, but I think a lot of people are using this as an excuse to discriminate against trans people. I keep hearing that, but I want to what I do anti-gender conformance surgeries. Anti-gender are they called anti-gender? They're not called anti-gender conformance surgery. So is that what they're called? Okay. All right. So I want to continue to focus on who. All right. So let's talk about national. And look, this state has zero. All right. So let's look at uh, national. No, that's national bills. Okay. Military. So let's go to the military. Somebody hit the link. Let me see who that is. And I'm on. Oh, sorry. Uh, what? Oh Lord. Oh hey,
Hello?
hey.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm not sure you took it the way I meant it, so I just wanted to come up here. All I was saying is those articles, a lot of the articles that are being printed
Uh huh.
are stoking. And I just think it's continuing to just try to incite. And I don't think it's a lot of it, I don't think is necessary. I don't think a lot of those articles are balanced. All I was saying is I wanted you to go over the policy, not that you can do it now because this is
Right.
on the fly. We would rather hear from you as far as your interpretation versus you interpreting what someone else has interpreted. A lot of that is stoking and it's not balanced.
Right. I mean,
That's all I was saying. So
no, no, no.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, you're
You.
good.
I was talking about the article being trashed. That's what I was saying.
But you didn't even know what article I was reading. Actually, let me show you what I was. You have a little static.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, darn it. Let me see if I could. Maybe because I'm sitting too close to the computer.
Okay. But I want to show you what I was looking at. I was see this is what I'm looking at, and I'm like NBC News, CNN, Reuters, AP,
Right. They
uh,
still, they
NPR.
still.
But I think NPR though does a really good job though. Um,
Okay. Am I still having static?
a little bit, but here's look. You're right. It says certain members of recruits who are diagnosed with or treated for gender affirming to be separated. So I, I I really agree that. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of static on your end.
I'm gonna try to change the headphone. Hold on.
Hey, Professor Cupcake, how are you?
I'll just say this about the policy. I mean, I think it just makes sense to take some time to figure out exactly what the policy says, not try and figure it out on the fly. You know what I mean? To like delve into it,
Hmm.
watch some stuff about people who are explaining exactly what it says.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I will just say this. I mean, I absolutely believe in separation of church and state. Okay.
Hmm.
Like completely to the nth degree. And I was raised by people who don't believe in that. And this issue, just like with the LGBT issue, is rooted so much in religious theology.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's so much rooted in that. And but the other thing that really matters to me is I don't like Pete Hegseth, right? The new Secretary of Defense,
Hmm.
until just recently said, you know, I don't believe women should be in combat. Like, does this surprise anybody that this is what we got as quickly as we did when they just put in a lush as Secretary of Defense who didn't believe that women, I mean, that was insane to me. So I'm not surprised that this happened. And Donald Trump was famous for not listening to his military advisors. With this as big of a complicated social issue as it is, the people that I care to hear from are the highest levels of military.
Right. Right.
I don't care what Johnny in Idaho thinks. I
Hmm.
don't give a shit what Susie, the biggest leftist liberal that you ever met, thinks.
Hmm.
I don't care about any of that because this isn't just a sociological issue.
Hmm.
Just like Anti has been saying in a lot of her comments here,
Hmm.
this is a medical issue.
Now,
You know
look
what
at
I'm saying?
right. Look at this real quick. And so this is where the confusion comes in because this is what Trump said as he wrote as he talked about his order. He said, beyond the hormonal and surgical medical interventions involved, adoption of a gender identity inconsistent with an individual's sex conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle, even in one's own personal life. The order says in its purpose section, a man's assertion that he is a woman and his requirement that others honor this falsehood is not consistent with the humility and selflessness required of a service member. That is not going with the whole idea of it's being a medical issue. This is saying something else. So
Well, that's why I just said I don't care what Trump thinks, and I don't
right,
care what
right.
Trump says, and I don't care what his sycophants have to say. I care what the men and women in the military who run this country and have dealt with over 25,000 trans members have to say
Right.
about this issue
I
in terms of it relating to my safety as an American. I don't
right.
have time for ideology here.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But what I'm saying is this is where the confusion comes in because this what the what we just read with the actual document, it was targeting people who are living with gender dysphoria. But what is being said outside of the legislation is this whole idea of traditional gender norms and gender values that this yeah, yeah, you said that's a personal opinion of Trump, that is not the policy, but that's actually part of his inside the purpose section of his order. That's what it says in the purpose section of his executive order. It says a man's assertion that he is a woman and his requirement that offers honor, that others honor this falsehood, is not consistent with the humility and selfishness.
Okay.
And yeah.
Well, okay. It, like I've been paying attention to this issue since probably the late '80s because it was a part of like my curriculum. It was at one point it was kind of contained within the social sciences, women's studies bubble because there was no other place for it to be, even though there was a huge division in the women's community and in the gay community with the trans community. Like this is way historical. So a
Hmm.
lot of people would erroneously call me a turf, okay,
Hmm.
which is a really horrible thing to be called in that community, which I am not, but there are some realities that I don't really accept. This is what I will say as somebody who was raised by white evangelical born again Christians. Mind you, I say raised by. I don't say that I ever was or that I ever embraced that philosophy because I never have. I just had to endure it as a child.
Hmm.
Um, the white evangelical Christian base became super important as a confirmed voting bloc, especially in the '80s when you had people coming into like just the generalized church, and they were able to turn people who had been historically Democrat to Republican. You were able to go in and take the unionized working base, which at one point had been Democratic, and turn it Republican if they were in any way evangelical. And this total takeover happened like way into the '90s. So we're like 40, almost 45 years into this transference. And what the neoconservative Republicans, because these people who run things still are neocons,
Right.
but you don't think they are. You think they're social Republicans, but they're not. The one thing that they always have to do is appease the religious right,
Right.
appease the white religious right. And so that's one of the reasons why you'll see, like when it comes to abortion, they want certain abortion laws changed.
Hmm.
But generally, they've never made those changes until the end of a Republican presidency. Now, what's
Hmm.
happening right now? Because I watch, like, I'll just hit a lot of news clips. Like, I won't necessarily care that it's coming from Fox News because I want to see, like, the tone that they're using with different things. Because tone is, like, really important. And what people want right now is they want this trans stuff on the chopping block. And pretty much, if you will turn on conservative radio, you will turn on conservative television, Fox, or any of that kind of stuff that hangs from that realm, they want trans hate stories. They want trans discussions. They want this stuff, and they're going to give it to them. And they've given it to them very early in this presidency. I'm not opposed to everything
Right.
that's happening right now, but this is a very dark, dismal time in history. Even if you just look at the word woke, like let's just look at that for a moment. That really comes from the black pantheon of computer thinking. Woke is a black term that came out of kind of black consciousness. In
Right.
the very beginning of the use of that term, it was positive. And then as woke started to be individually deconstructed, woke, even in the black viral spaces, became a negative term. or kind of like a comical term, right? And now the white conservative, uh, ideology in this country has taken a black constructed word,
Right.
term, and turned it around
A-
to
And
serve
it's
their racial
right.
plans.
And it's always about language. And I want to jump on something that you said when it comes to the religious right. And I mean, I really, if you look at it, I blame Jerry Falwell and the moral majority. I mean, he wasn't the first one to court,
It's huge.
the concern, but he actually helped Reagan.
Oh yeah.
He actually helped Reagan win, and so after that, he, but
Mm-mm.
Jerry Falwell. The crazy part about it is Jerry Falwell was also big when it came to fighting against desegregation. He fought against it. And and turned around um, and he took on the fight against women's rights and LGBT rights. And you're right about the whole taking the word woke, and that happened in response. For one, it happened in response to the election of Obama, but mainly it was a response to the Black Lives Matter movement,
Mhm.
which DEI is a casualty of. Well, DEI is a casualty of Obama becoming president, of the rise of the browning and queering of America. All of this is in response to that.
Well, one of the things that like KRP was talking about in the comments earlier in the discussion is that you know, you talk about. Oh, I'm sorry, you still there, anti. I don't want to talk over you if you want to pop up, but you were talking about what a
You're not
small.
talking over me. I'm just listening.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You were just talking about what a small percentage of the population this is, right? Which it doesn't matter, because if people want this trans stuff in their face every day, so they can get hungry mad about it, they're going to give it to them. It doesn't matter what percentage of the population it is. And they really don't care who's disadvantaged. But he was talking about how that's more important than the issues. You know, like nobody in this country ever talks about capital flight, right? We got Elon Musk in here, a heartbroken apartheid South African, right? Did you notice the minute that they cut USAID, that the story that Donald Trump stepped forward with was the unfair treatment of the white farmers in South Africa? All of
Mm,
a sudden, Elon Musk is like, we got to get rid of USAID. Give me my chainsaw, right? And Donald Trump steps up and says, we got to deal with South Africa. South Africa was the first known target that Donald Trump and Elon put on the chopping block. Are you serious? This fucking freak who was given an emerald mine by his father, who, if you have ever seen any interviews of his father, he is such a contemptible, disgusting human being. So the issues of apartheid South Africa are what those two people put on the chopping block to
right,
justify starvation and hunger.
right. Hold that thought real quick, Cupcake. I like to hear more about its stoking, and it contributes to the targeting LGBTQ for attack and harassment. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I kind of want to understand where you're coming from.
I'm just going off of what Professor C just said. And hello, Professor C. All of this front and center on the news and the way they're couching what's going on, that's what I was referring to. They keep putting it on, and the way they're putting it out there, it's inciting hostility towards LGBTQ population. It's creating hostility.
Mm. Well,
I mean, ultimately, people decide if they're going to be hostile, but the
Okay.
way they're
There
putting
you
it
go.
up, the way they're presenting it, it's making it appear that this is a group to be maligned. This is a new target.
Well, that they actually, based on the anti-trans legislation, that seems to be the case. But I do get it, because when this so-called issue with Target and the bathroom stuff, that was, excuse me, that was really blown out of proportion. And then what happened? People frenzy, and then legislation started happening.
I don't think it's good. I don't think the intentions are, oh, we want to bring this information because the people need to know it. It's the same thing with the police brutality. They only want to put the information about police when they're jumping on Black folks, but they don't want to cover how many cops get fired. They don't want to cover that. They want to cover what they think is going to keep you amped up. And I get it to some extent, but I think the method is intended to keep people agitated. And I think they go overboard, blowing it up to an extent where it's not accurate in a lot of ways.
And I think
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
right. And I think that's played out on both sides.
Yes, exactly.
So I guess what I want to come to is, I want to circle back to the topic that we were engaging in, and as a point of a hopeful, what do we do, where do we go next? And I think one of the lessons that we learned today was to, and thank you both for this lesson, was to find the information for yourself, right? Go to the source of the information. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I want to know exactly what that military policy entails.
Right.
Because, like I said, who cares about Trump?
Well, I get it, but
You know what I mean? Like, what exactly is going on? And one of the things that Anti and myself are kind of saying in the chat is, to some extent, this is not just a discussion about discrimination, because I don't want to discriminate. Anyone who's willing to sign those papers and put their life on the line for me gets the ultimate respect from me. Okay. But I do want to know, what part of your transition are you in? Because transition is a medically fragile
yeah,
situation.
I hear what
That's
you
all I'm talking about.
I hear what you're saying, but I want to like table that part, and the part that I want to go back to is the part of the close to 600 anti-trans bills, and we can like separate the military. That's probably one or two. So the 600 plus anti-trans bills that are on the table, the fear, the sadness, the shame that many of our trans loved ones are facing right now, and those who love them are also facing. Where do we go, and what do we do next? So we talked about finding accurate information. What's the next step?
The accurate information is that LGBTQ/trans rights is a civil rights issue. Nobody's rights are being removed. The Civil Rights Act has not been repealed. These rights are protected under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. There was a Supreme Court ruling. So the fact that this is not even addressed, that there was a ruling, it was Comstock versus United States. It's gender discrimination to discriminate against LGBTQ plus. This is a gender discrimination issue. So be prepared for lawsuits. People need to be educated. You can't remove people's rights. The Civil Rights Act has not been repealed. But I know when you feel something is being taken away and that's articulated, that tends to overtake. Let's educate people. This is a civil rights issue. This is a gender discrimination issue, and it's not permissible to discriminate against gender. So be prepared for federal lawsuits.
But
Yeah,
you can,
That's what I say. Yeah.
but hold on, real quickly though. But you can be denied housing based on your sexual orientation, though.
No, you cannot. That's a civil rights
No,
violation.
you can be denied housing based on your sexual orientation. Yes, you
Well,
can.
No, that's a
let's
civil rights
remember this,
violation.
No,
that
your sexual
Who-
orientation is not protected under civil
Yes,
rights.
it is. You don't. Okay, I remember I sent you that lawsuit. It's a civil. The Supreme Court ruled. What is it? 3 years ago? Gender is a civil rights issue, and LGBTQ plus is considered gender. That is gender discrimination. Comstock is the Supreme Court case. I sent you that case.
and I
Let
will
me
say
look it up.
this.
Let me look up it. It's Comstock.
This is related to what Anti is also saying.
Hmm.
One of the weakest ways to try and govern is through executive order, okay? Which Trump sat up there for the first 9 months, pretty much, of his first term. And if he wasn't golfing, he was signing an executive order, okay? And that's what he's doing again. So when she's talking about be prepared for all these lawsuits, we saw this in his first term.
Right.
All he does is literally clog up the courts, and they just hope that they're going to get a judge that makes it go their way. When he tried, birthright citizenship, and ultimately the judge that had the most to say about it was a Reagan appointee. It was like, what are you talking about?
Hmm.
Like, this is codified in the Constitution. Trump likes to govern by executive order.
Hmm.
And one of the things that does is every time he signs an executive order, it makes everyone holler one way or the other, right? Like, oh my God, look at this. Like, that's the final say. But that's not the final say.
Right.
That's what Anti's saying. Expect lawsuits because we
Right.
saw this before.
I'm looking on the state level, and I'm I'm gonna have to look again. I might stand corrected, but does the Fair House housing laws protect?
I'm
Okay.
going to post it. I'm going to post it in it's Bostock versus Clayton County. I just posted it in the chat. That's a civil rights case, United States Supreme Court. It is gender discrimination to discriminate against people based on their sexual orientation.
Gotcha.
That was 5 years ago.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
I was looking for it. I was looking for it in HUD, and they took it
Mhm.
off.
That came out of Georgia. That came out of Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that.
That'll,
So
uh,
that, again. So
well, this is
but they don't want to cover that because they want to keep people nice and agitated, nice and upset,
Yeah.
nice and all out of sorts.
well,
This
this
is a
is
civil rights issue.
well,
It
this
says
is
it right here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, it does. It talks about an employer who fires an individual merely being gay and trans. Yeah, is that
No, not employer. Let me read it. Bostock versus Clayton County, 2020 is a landmark United States Supreme Court's civil rights decision in which the court held that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 protects employees against discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. That was a discrimination case based on employee, but
right?
it designated gender discrimination is a civil rights violation. So if it's about employee, you can't discriminate in housing either. It's all inclusive. You
Huh.
can't discriminate on any of those protected classes. You can't discriminate in any in housing and employment. It includes sexual orientation as a gender issue. Because remember, before it's not a gender issue; it is a gender issue.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so based
Because they were
on
trying to consider LGBTQ plus as not included in gender discrimination, but the Civil Rights Act, the Supreme Court says it is now. This was the decision that
uh,
determined that.
so I'm looking
Go
at it right
ahead.
now. Yeah,
And
I I stand corrected.
and
You
one
are correct.
one reason why what she was just talking about is really important is because when you're trying to appease these very conservative voting blocks of people, you first off, they have disdain for the courts. Okay, they have disdain for the whole lawyership of what is involved in the United States. But what they will do is talk about things as if there are not already precedent setting cases. Okay. They
Mhm.
like to bring their own, but they really realize that, like, under federal protections, they actually exist in the United States. So they create an enormous amount of media propaganda, of, you know, evangelicalizing of concepts for people,
So I need to
and
get out
people
of here.
don't already understand this is settled law.
Right, and that's why the ACLU is going to be really really working. Let me show something real quick, and then we'll uh we'll work on getting out of here. This is what I'm looking at. This is housing non-discrimination laws protect LGBTQ people from being unfairly. Yep. Okay. This is on the state level. Um, so in Missouri, there is no explicit prohibitations for discriminate based on sexual orientation. So that would mean a person would have to go to the Supreme Court then, right? So because in Missouri there is no protection. Um, so that's what
So
I'm at.
a state wants to risk losing getting HUD funding because they're violating. Is that what they want to do?
I guess so. I guess
They're not going to do
Well,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
let's think about this. How many conservative Republican lawmakers have been caught in the bathrooms, have been
Oh,
caught
we,
like
we,
in the little OnlyFans twink boys?
yeah.
And
I
they
mean,
don't care. They don't care about this issue.
no, no.
They
It's
care about money.
they care
They
about
don't give a
money,
shit.
but they
They're
also
appeasing people.
but they're also using their power uh, to
Yeah.
to to hide their own internalized homophobia as well.
And they really they want their money.
Okay,
They want their money at the end of the day.
so let me go back to my my
If they
question.
can make their hatred profitable,
Right.
great. Let's find the people to make profit off of.
All right. So what we learned today is one, find whatever you're talking about, go to the source. Um, don't get caught up with the headlines, or look beyond the headlines. And I think another good thing too. Yeah, thank you for AAS, is how we handle disagreement, and we handled it very very well. I mean, this is what this is what humans do.
Yeah.
Civilized humans do. We have conversations, we have disagreements, and then we're able to talk about sensitive issues and topics. But the
It
main
should be easier for you now, though. Here's what I want to say. It should be easier for you now and not to be so anxious about it because LGBTQ plus is folded into the Civil Rights Act. I mean, I'm all inclusive anyway when it comes to looking at discrimination. I don't care what it's for because people say, our people particularly, well, it's not the same thing because I'm a Black person. Discrimination is discrimination. It's just a different category. Is it religion? Is it race? What is it? National origin? This is the perfect comeback. You should feel secure. You can't you can't tell people how to feel. You can't will
right,
them
right,
to
yeah,
believe and think and perceive you
mm-mm.
as an LGBTQ person here, there, everywhere, everybody out there. You should love them. Oh, they're not going to feel that way.
I get that.
Okay.
I
Okay. They're never going to feel you as an
Right.
ally should be respected.
mm.
Your
and that's
neighbor who's right,
and that's never. I mean, I already know that's not my goal. The
right,
goal is there's a whole group, and they're called the movable middle.
right.
There's a whole group that is unsure about what's going on because they hear once two different sides are so animate. I'm preaching to the choir a lot of times, but sometimes we need to be able to get to that movable middle by having discussions like this. The whole thing is, and I go back to this: why is 1% of our population why is there so much legislation against that 1%?
That's
And
not something you should worry about. You should worry about what's factual and what you have access to. What are the rights? Because you're never going to touch that. They're entitled to have their opinion. Don't
that's
worry about those who are so vociferous and maintaining that stance. Go novice on it. Like you said, the middle ground, the middle road, go for the middle road and just take it down to a novice level, because they're not going to be, and I'm not trying to be insulting others, you're on the scholarly level and they're never going to get there if you use your scholarly intelligence on them. You have to go down to a novice level to try to reach them in a lot of ways, because they're not receptive
and that's
on the advanced. They just can't get there. They don't
right.
understand.
I
Okay.
get that, but
You know,
if we do visualizations again,
right.
if I talk about again the 1% of population, and there's 662 bills that
Look there,
are
but
working,
right.
and
But
then
there's a civil rights movement, though. There's Civil Rights Act of
it,
1964 that
it
trumps everything.
right, it sure is. But here's the thing, though, is that we know that's the case, and we know that there's a lot of that. I hear what you're saying. You're pretty much saying, hey, we're getting things stoked up, and you're right. You have to meet people at their level of understanding. Right. I get it. Well, shit. Okay. Where do
I want to. Can I say something real quick? I know
where
you
the
don't. I don't want to get into the details, but it
no.
what irritated me about the other administrations. I'm going to say this real quick. If somebody has a bad allergy problem, so I have allergy issues sometimes, and I need to take my Flonase every single day, which I have to take it. If I go like 3 or 4 days without it, my allergies are going to act up. They probably aren't going to let me be on the front lines, because I'll start sneezing all over the place. Any
Right.
condition, it doesn't matter what it is, that you need to take medication for. And this person, whoever we're talking about, not for those who don't need the medication, a person who needs to take any type of medication on schedule all the time is
Right.
not going to be fit. So for these people to go and pass a law, I
Mhm.
felt they were trying to curry favor, because where are they now? Why aren't they coming out strong and
Right.
long? Where is their advocacy? Why are they not speaking up now? It's like they set people up for this cruel
Right.
letdown. That's all I was saying.
I see that, I get that. And
Right,
I love the idea of meeting people where they're at. And
right.
I think the part that I want to leave with is that um beyond our, even me talking about the 1% or all of this, that I think we all should, and we all know that there is a human side to this. There are stories behind this, and there are those who have lost their lives because of all the tension in the air, the hate, the whatever, whatever leads to people um, just. I mean, I think if we go back to the idea of beyond the stories, beyond the 1%, 90%, whatever, these are actual people who have lost their lives. Many have lost their lives due to attacks against trans people,
Of
and then
course, it's a human element. So you might want to check out the new video I'm going to put out. It's about proximity, whether it's emotional proximity or physical proximity. The harm can't be done unless somebody has that access. And I don't know the situations with all these people.
right,
Taking someone's life is wrong, but there's also a very big element that I work with a lot of people, LGBTQ
mhm,
plus population. The first thing I work with is protecting yourself. This is
right,
a very vulnerable population, extremely vulnerable. You have
right,
people on the hunt. You have to make sure you do everything you can to protect yourself. And the desperation is out there to
right.
connect, because they feel so isolated.
and
But
and and because they're isolated, right? Because
right,
of family rejection,
right,
of neighborhood
exactly,
rejection, and so that's where I think that's the angle that I was coming
right,
from, and I think that's the angle where I will stay. I think
right,
when you
right.
start getting into policy, that might
Hmm.
leave certain people. So
But I
I,
think it's important. I think you just got to make sure the audience, and again, you're going to have to go novice because you're scholarly because this is your passion, right?
yeah,
You're scholarly, and I love listening to it. I get into it, and then I realize I'm into this. But oh, wait a minute, there's some people that might not be able to really understand on that level. But do your thing. I'm glad you're talking about this because this is your passion, and go for it.
yeah, I had to get it out.
I know. I'm glad.
Shout out to Living Queen. I was so scared. Yeah, I talked about this in class before, and I think I'm gonna do this in class too. I don't know. I might do it something different, but
Right. Okay.
I think it's the human side. Hey, I'm
Mhm.
talking to Anti-Afro, and I was talking to Professor Cupcake. Ain't that cool?
Yeah.
Ain't that cool. And this is I think this is what I these are the conversations that I love to have, and I love what trans people are not a threat. Elon Musk is a threat. We need 600 pendulums. I guess.
I
Yeah.
don't mean to be. I don't mean to be
Oh, here you go.
discriminatory, but something about a white African running the show in the
Oh,
United States. It's like, oh my
yeah.
God, that's kind of scary. But he's not a United
Yeah.
States citizen, right?
I don't think so, is he? Shout out to
I
Living
think
Queen. I
I
don't
don't know what
know.
his. I don't really know much about his history, but I was kind of like. But Donald Trump said he can't take over. He wasn't born here, but he's a businessman. That's the thing. That's what I got to keep.
It's
They
it's
are
it's
business
all
people.
business.
They're business. They're not politicians.
It's all
But
business. It's all business, and I don't know, but what I am happy about is that it goes full circle, and it goes back to how we treat each other.
but I haven't
Yeah.
heard anything about Elon Musk. That's why I don't want to be jump to conclusions. I haven't heard
Oh,
him being like racist. I haven't heard anything.
no,
So
I
I'm
mean,
reserving my judgment. I don't want to be like just because he's from South Africa, he's a racist. That wouldn't be fair. But I've
right.
kind of thought about that. I'm like, oh my goodness. But so far, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know much about his history.
That was an awesome. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Us three together
Yeah.
will make for a very whiny and crying and boring show. But it, for other people. Yeah, let's just say that when we do another show together, us three, it's going to be full of whining and crying and boring. So that way, all the assholes can stay away, right?
You're right about
Uh,
that.
all right, they all can stay away. But I enjoyed today's show. We we went all over the place. Not really, but we stayed on target. I would love to talk more about. Definitely want to talk more about um, the military. But I would love to talk about what's said and what's not said. I think that's really something powerful because looking beyond the headlines, looking to what's really being said. Uh, KRP said he's racist. Tulsa's always getting sued for racial discrimination,
Oh, really?
retaliation.
See, that's where I'm short because I don't know anything about him. I know he has a daughter that is trans, and
Right.
there's a big conflict there. But I don't know anything about him. I got to be honest. But I know that he's from South Africa, and I'm like, I don't know what side of the fence he was on.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's just kind of odd, a white South African helping run the United States, just that whole landscape. Because I do know, let me say this real quick. I do know in South Africa, they are very resistant to doing any sort of HIV research, that the researchers are from Europe.
Yeah.
A lot like them in the country, Black Africans in the country, doctors
Hmm.
are not very up on it. You have like from Sweden, from Europe,
Hmm.
doing that research, coming in and doing, they really don't want to get involved with that.
Right. I mean, I get it, especially with the history.
Yeah, so that's what I know. So
Yeah. I mean, I
wouldn't that be
get it.
nice if you got involved in that, put some money behind that, do some research,
I
put
mean,
money in that?
he can cure poverty. You realize that
Mhm.
he can, but not the poverty mindset. See, that's the thing, though.
Right, right.
It's a whole mindset based on survival. So I mean, so for those who are listening live, or even listen to this later, in the comment section of this video, put some topics that you would like AAS, myself, and Professor Cupcake to talk about together. Put that in the chat. Put that in the comment section, and then we'll synchronize our schedules and try to do a show together, uh, dealing with that, and hopefully it's like dealing with topics. Because I mean I don't know, about you, but I don't get excitement talking about male on male sex and deflated junk.
Floppy junk. But you got to check out my
Uh,
next video, what they want from
okay.
you. You check it out. Moment of Friends.
Right. Yeah. Living Queen. Check out the if you go back in this video, you'll see our discussion on that. It was really lively discussion. Yeah, I'll check out your video. You said KRP, my friend, and her husband bought Tesla. I'm going to let them know. Yeah. So for now on, we're going to make sure that this show is sponsored by sponsored by Viagra. I'm gonna get I'm gonna get new sponsors. I think I'm gonna make a song called "No Floppy Junk." Whatever. I'm just done with these people. I am so done with these people.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. But they stay over there. We over here. But with that being said, thank you, my friend, for coming and joining
Okay.
me.
You have a nice day. We'll be
You
in
too.
touch.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, and Professor Cupcake, I'm sorry your phone went out. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Yeah, Living Queen, thank you. And people complain and say, "Oh, he has the same 5 people in his chat. He has the same 6 people in his chat. You know, they all have moderators wrenches. The nerve even to have people who agree with him even. And that's okay. And that's okay, because that's what I think they're a little bit jealous, because that's people who know real, right? I don't have to worry about any of these people in this chat so-called stabbing me in my back. I don't have to worry about, and I even in my personal life, I don't have to worry about that, because I don't do that to other people. And I think if we sum up today's show, it is all about treating people with dignity and respect, even no matter our differences. I think that's the issue, is no matter our differences, treating people with dignity, love, and respect. I would love to. I saw that she was here earlier. Lady Dimples was here, and I would love to have Lady Dimples hit the link, because I would love to hear her take on our topic today. Um, and Lady Dimples, if you're listening, maybe next time we can do a show and to get your take on this issue. So thank you so much for watching, for tuning in, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Peace, blessings. We are out.
Red, 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 red.